On a day that we are seeing a member of parliament from Kerala, who has obviously moved from Amethi recently to Kerala, redefine or attempt to redefine the concept of satyagraha as some kind of cover for economic corruption, on a day where we have seen eminent personalities like D.K. Shivkumar, P. Chidambaram, K.C. Venugopal and others flock to Delhi to protest an investigation into an economic offense. On a day when it seems that the Congress party is signaling to all economic offenders of the world, of the country, that when confronted with or when being questioned by the police or an investigative agency on matters of economic corruption or economic offenses, the way to respond to that is to collect a crowd and to try and intimidate the investigative agencies. On that day, we would also like to draw your attention to another case that is being played out in Kerala, where events of the last few days, which we have observed in the media, have firmly pointed the needle of suspicion in a long-standing gold smuggling case that has been attempted to be investigated by central agencies for the last many months. The needle of suspicion now has firmly settled on Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, his Chief Minister's office and his family. This press conference is really to lay out a few background facts that are all in the public domain. When this gold smuggling scam was exposed in 2020, the then Chief Minister, anticipating the impact or the backlash of this on the forthcoming state elections, wrote a letter to the Honorable Prime Minister. And I would like to quote a few phrases from that letter, and of course, through you, remind him as well. He termed the crime, and I quote, extremely serious. His quote again, implications for the nation. His quote again in that letter, a crime that warranted a thorough investigation. One more quote from that July 2020 letter from Honorable Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan. Every link should be unravelled. The state government will provide all assistance. But from that day to today, the Kerala government under Pinarayi Vijayan has done everything to block the investigation into these criminal activities and serious crimes. He has called it serious himself. He used the state police to roadblock the central agencies who have the expertise in investigating these crimes. But the recent revelations by a lady called Swapna Suresh via a sworn 164 statement in court, not a mere allegation, it is a sworn statement in court that we have all seen the media report, are explosive and unprecedented. It has firmly pointed the needle of suspicion to Chief Minister Vijayan and his family as the fulcrum of this conspiracy that involves currency smuggling out of the country and receiving of many unexplained consignments to his official residence. There are, as you know, in the public domain now, the media has reported there have been attempts, instead of trying to investigate this crime, people connected with the establishment attempted to meet this lady and settle the matter. Money was offered, threats were proffered, and a carrot and stick approach was adopted to try and silence this lady. And that has also been reported in the public domain. So serious questions have arisen from this. I will just lay out 4 serious questions and observations. This crime that has serious national implications, said the CM in the run-up to the elections. A crime that involved, this is an observation, that selling our national security for a few pieces of gold. As my colleague Tom Vadakkan also used this phrase a few days ago. Why has the CM gone from talking about every link should be unraveled and state government will give assistance to now doing everything to silence, muzzle and intimidate people who are giving sworn statements in courts? Does the CM believe that the ADGP vigilance who was brokering this settlement, who was then removed in midnight after it was publicly, his audio recordings were made public, doesn't that confirm the involvement of the CM rather than absolve him? And the fourth, what is the source of money that Shaji Kiran was offering to Swapna for a silence? Whose money was that? Whose money was he offering? I will just end and then I will hand it to my colleague by saying that there is an unprecedented crisis in Kerala. This is the first time in the history of Kerala, and there have been many CPM LDF chief ministers in Kerala. We have had EMS, V.S. Achyutanandan, Nayanar, many chief ministers, but never has a CPM LDF chief minister been accused of, via a sworn statement, of misusing his office and state and his administration as part of a criminal conspiracy, criminal economic conspiracy. So we appeal today, we call upon him in the interest of India and Kerala that he must come clean. He must stop his intimidation of the process of investigation and law and must permit a free and fair investigation of the case and prosecution of the crime. A crime he himself referred to as having serious implications for the nation. Those serious implications don't change just because he, his CMO or his family are alleged to be involved. Thank you.
My friend and colleague, Sri Rajeev Chandrasekha ji has put across the background of the whole issue. And now, during the last 1 week, what we are seeing in Kerala is an unprecedented situation. The situation is that black color is now banned in Kerala. Even media persons who wore black masks were asked to remove it. The Chief Minister attended a function of the Christian church, and the church had to issue a direction in advance that nobody should come with black masks or black colored dress. And now you know that it is monsoon season. Generally we all carry black umbrellas. The police people, they kept away their black umbrellas and had to carry colored umbrellas because CM doesn't want to see black anywhere. So because the communists always, they take the moral high ground of democracy, on human rights, on freedom of expression, right of speech, all these things. But in Kerala, the Chief Minister, day before yesterday, he started his journey from Trivandrum, which is in the extreme south. And today he has reached the extreme north of Kerala's Kannur district. And throughout Kerala, wherever he went, this was the scenario. Transgenders were beaten up because they were wearing, unfortunately, they didn't know of any of these issues. So they had worn black dress. They were going to the metro station. They were beaten up. And they say about freedom of expression, right of speech. It is the height of fascism, more fascist than Hitler. That is what is happening in Kerala. Police is kept on guard throughout, and the Chief Minister has a protection which is unheard of, unseen, which is there, not there even for the Prime Minister. Today some of the Malayalam newspapers have reported, in Kottayam the Chief Minister was there in the morning, in the afternoon the Governor was there. The level of protection, that was the number of policemen who were deployed, it far outnumbered the protection that was given for the governor. So this shows that, as Sri Rajivji mentioned, the needle of suspicion points towards the Chief Minister. Why should one be frightened so much unless he has something to hide? If you have nothing to hide, why should you be frightened? Why should you be so much evasive? And for the last 1 week, it's only written statements that is coming out. Media persons were asked to assemble in the hall where the CM was to address 1 hour in advance. 1 hour in advance. So that nobody in between stretches his mic to the Chief Minister and asks a question. So this shows that the Chief Minister is not in a position, he is afraid of facing the media, facing the public, and there is large-scale protests across the state. Those who, in spite of all these things, there are youth activists of BJP Yuva Morcha who has conducted the black flag demonstrations. They are beaten black and blue. So I want to reiterate the point that the Chief Minister should come clean on this. If he has nothing to hide, why he is frightened of facing the media? Why he is frightened of addressing the common man? Why he wants to have such a large protection? Because communists always say that we work among the common people. We don't need protection. I have seen former chief ministers of Kerala traveling in entire Kerala, even in the railway station, with just one personal security officer. Nobody else. And that days are gone. Now the communist chief minister, what they are saying, the state measure is for the oppression of the poor. The police force is for that. And that police force is called to give protection to such a chief minister. So let him come clean on this issue. Why he should, even now that investigation is going on, an inquiry commission was set up to investigate against the central agencies, whether central agencies are having any ulterior motives or designs in taking this case. So it is unheard of. And Congress, they are playing a sort of a friendly match with the CPM. They say ED is questioning Rahul Gandhi. In Kerala, they are asking why ED is not questioning the Kerala Chief Minister. What is your stand? So this is the double speak what we are seeing in the case of Congress. So I must say that the Chief Minister, instead of running away from the issue, he should face the public. He should come clean on this issue.
Rajeev Chandrasekha ji, Muraleedharan ji, Sanjay Mayuk ji. A very good evening to friends. We have touched on the subject earlier. We have also touched on the black syndrome that the Chief Minister is suffering from. And the information that we had from the church was the laity was told nothing black. So I only hope that the black hair that you have on your head was not dyed, because the Chief Minister doesn't like it, that being the situation. And the kind of syndrome that they are suffering from. Incidentally, a mediator, Mr. Shaji, who owns about 10 companies in a gap of about 2 years, shell companies probably, and is also linked with the Believers Church, Yohanan, and the linkages and the tale that the Enforcement Directorate was involved in finding out how he carried the kind of money that he had. And he is essentially also owner of the Cherumali estate, which was apparently to be sold for the airport that was coming up. This is a clever, studied game. Who are the investors in Cherumali Estate? Are things to be found. Money laundering at a very, very clever state of affairs. That was what was happening there. Now this Mr. Shahji, there's tapes in public domain. This is not the Bharatiya Janata Party saying this. This is tapes released by Swapna. And the tapes clearly indicate that this gentleman was trying to scare her to withdraw the statement under 164, which she was sworn in, and she was being threatened. These are not something which we imagine. These are records which was released to the media in Kerala. It is alleged that yes, he was a messenger from the powers that are in Kerala. The desperateness that has stepped in is very strange. And as Muraleedharan ji mentioned, the Congress position is very strange. I've just tweeted about it, and incidentally Muraleedharan ji also has raised it. Here they question the right of the Enforcement Directorate of inquiring into the embezzlement of 2,000 crore alleged. It's an investigative work. And in Kerala they say exactly the opposite. Why is he not being investigated? Now I really don't know what the Congress party's position is. The drama that was enacted today was for everybody to see. Some of the people who came in didn't know why they were there. And one leading light from Kerala said, because we are here because Rahul Gandhi had been arrested. Now, point is, this kind of orchestration is done because of sheer frustration. That's the position of the Congress. But I don't want to deviate on this issue, on the Congress issue. But let me be very candid. What is happening in Kerala is one of the worst scenarios that Kerala has seen since its formation. This kind of corruption, this kind of allegations of corruption is something that has never been heard of. And they claim to be the communist followers. The chiefs in Delhi are not speaking one word about it. They are looking the other way because finances arrive from Kerala. And if the Communist Party of India is in such a mess that they don't raise a finger, they talk about corruption at every level. But what about their own corruption? These are questions that people of India are asking. We in the BJP are using just mirrors to point it out to them that this communist movement is on the last patch of Indian history. Because this kind of corruption has never been seen. Biryani is arriving in handis with gold in it. Cash going. Absent-minded chief minister leaves the cash for anybody to deliver it to him in Dubai. And what is in the briefcase? The admission is, alleged admission is that it was cash. But nobody says whether it was foreign currency or Indian currency. Be what it may. Absent-minded chief minister, money arrives in Dubai, handed over to him, his principal secretary. These are answers that people of Kerala are watching. This is a highly educated state. Believe me, today they may get away with murder, but these days are counted. Thank you.
The demand is very clear. We would like him to stop intimidating, stop this whole publicly reported issue of trying to get the case settled. Because remember, he wrote in July 2020 that this is a matter of serious national concern. He wrote in July 2020 that this must be investigated and the entire conspiracy unraveled. He said it at that time because there was an election coming and he wanted to say what people wanted to hear. Our demand is very clear that he must not interfere in the process of investigation and he must not try and influence the outcome of this investigation and prosecution. He must allow the facts and he must allow the case to be investigated and prosecuted. Mohit, like I said to you today, जुलाई 2020 में ये व्यक्ति कहते हैं कि ये सबसे बड़ा नेशनल कंसर्न का एक केस है. He said this is the serious implications. It must be investigated. It must be unraveled. He does everything using the police machinery of the state to delay, defer, block, obfuscate. When a lady goes out there and gives a sworn statement in a court, instead of doing what he promised in July 2020, repeated throughout 2021 leading up to the election, he does what? Strangely, a man, as Tom Vadakkan ji said, suddenly pops up in front of this lady, offers her money, and then says if she doesn't take money, she is going to be threatened, her accomplice is kidnapped, her lawyers are, cases are filed against her lawyers. This is not the action of a chief minister who wants to get to the truth. This is the action of a chief minister who wants to hide the truth. And that is why, if the needle of suspicion is pointing in the direction of the chief minister, his office, where Shiva Shankaran used to work, and his family, who has been, the media says they have been named in this 164, then he must stand up if he is innocent, if he is clear of these charges, and do everything possible not to settle the case, but to get the matter investigated. And unless he cooperates, unless he goes away from this blockading himself behind 700 and 1,000 policemen, unless he says something, unless he clears the air, unless he clears his own view on what is happening, how will we arrive at the truth? He has to be a partner in our search for the truth. No, I don't, it's not a question of going soft on a CM or hard on a CM. Our press conference here is basically to say the chief minister must not come in the way of ascertaining the truth. There is ample evidence in the last few days. Those recordings have been broadcast by media, the fraternity, that instead of doing what he has been saying he is doing from 2020, which is that he will partner in the investigation, that the state government will cooperate in the investigation, there is now clinching evidence that he is doing everything to obfuscate, everything to intimidate, and everything to muzzle the people who are material to investigating the crime. It is that reason is why we are coming here today. This fact that he is trying to intimidate them was never known in the public domain. We all had a guess that he was trying to block this investigation. But today it is out in the public domain. There are recordings of this so-called Shaji Kiran offering her money. Whose money? Is he the Reserve Bank of India? Whose money is he offering? And what is this ADGP vigilance guy calling him 33 times, meeting him for 4 hours, and then this person goes and meets Swapna? I mean, for all of us today, that is enough circumstantial evidence that there is somebody in the establishment that is trying to derail the investigation. And as the gentleman asked, what is our demand here? We want the investigation to be free and fair. We want the chief minister to stop trying to derail the investigation. Let the truth be out there, and whatever the consequences of the truth are, the law should follow its own course. No, look, I as a rule, and I will allow Muraliji also to respond to this, I don't respond to, and we don't respond to people making allegations. This has become a habit for the Congress party in particular to make allegations. And I think they believe that if they make these allegations repeatedly enough, some people will buy those allegations. We saw that during COVID. We saw that in the matter of the economy. We saw that in the matter of vaccinations. We've seen that here. When an economic offense is committed, it is the duty of the agencies investigating these economic offenses to investigate and prosecute. Now, if somebody has a problem with that and then they want to go on a satyagraha because an economic offense of so many thousand crores is being investigated, ये थोड़ा एक नया मॉडल बन रहा है और उसके बारे में वही बात करेंगे, हम थोड़ी बात करेंगे उनके बारे में. I mean, there are many questions to be asked to Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, but that is why I presume that will be the lowest priority. Why is he surrounding himself with, as Muraliji said, blockading himself? I have seen...
Press conference cannot happen
yeah.
because there are 2-3 people who are wearing black colors.
No, and
They have asked you out.
Kerala has seen many chief ministers from the CPM and the left. There has been Nayanarji, V.S. Achyutanandji, there has been the famous EMS. While we were politically opposed to them, but there was never this instance of a left CPM chief minister using his chief minister's office, embroiling his wife, his family and his official residence in receiving these big bowls of biryani with gold in it. This is a bit of this is pioneering work that Pinarayi Vijayan ji is doing, and we will just leave it at that.